And hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm David Bowles, and I think you can hear me. Tommy, can you hear me? Yes, all systems go. Everything's A-OK. Oh, and the captions are working faster than normal, which is even better. And hey, this is Bowles.tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Daylight Standard Time, depending on your place in the world. So hey, here's a dad joke for you. Why did the Melons plan a big wedding? Because they cantaloupe. Fabulous. Now that's, I think, the original dad joke. The cantaloupe joke. Food, especially fruit, appears to play a big role in these dad jokes. Which is a good thing because many dads stereotypically are not big fans of fruit. Vegetables, once in a while. Potatoes all the time. French fries. Fruit, different story. Baklava, never. So yesterday we had an issue with our audio. And we worked on our commands. So over the time from yesterday to today, I created some aliases. I call them slash commands, but they're not slash commands. They're exclamation point commands that are aliases for the exclamation point hey. So, here's one of them. Exclamation point help. In case you can't remember, I've created, something's wrong. The stream is on fire and he's not paying attention. So the help alias brings up the hey, hey. Yes? Okay, here's another one. Audio, exclamation point, A-U-D-I-O, boom. Brings up the same thing. Yes? We're getting there. Let's play fair. Video. Yes, same thing. So if you can't remember the command, is it hey or is it yo? Doesn't matter. Is it help audio video? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Just type it in. Exclamation point. Probably most apropos from yesterday. Sound. And then I see these. And it makes the whole message for me on my end red. It has the thing on the side that you see that's kind of yellow, or I think it's orange. So it's orange plus red, pinkish. Hey, something's up with your stream. And then just because I'm playing along with our new MooBot, I created a social command that I can use to invoke at the end of the show. I will still speak it, because some people won't have chat, but at least we get a little something there. And then I created an alias for that, which I learned other streamers do, which is contact. So type in contact, it brings up our social main exclamation point command. So sometimes I watch other streamers to try to learn things from them, what they're doing, how they do it, why they do it. Mainly playing Grand Theft Auto, and sometimes chess. The chess players they just kind of sit down and do it, but the game players, the role-playing players, have a fine line between, do they show their real face? Do they just always stay off screen? Some do, some don't. I guess if you want to make a lot of money, especially through sponsorship deals, the sponsors want your face on screen. And it's interesting, I was just watching one young woman from Britain, if I'm being honest, eating French fries while she's playing Grand Theft Auto. And she's always on camera, which is smart because she's very delightful on camera. And I noticed, I thought it was weird at first, but then I figured it out, that when she's playing Grand Theft Auto, the day changes in the game. Sometimes it's light outside, it's noon, sometimes it's evening, it's overnight. So when she's playing her cop character, or I guess whatever character, but this morning it was a cop character, and the entire screen is dark because in the world of Grand Theft Auto, it's dark outside, she turns off her lights. to make herself dark. So you really can't see her at all. She does something like this. Except you can see me more than I can see her. This is very frightening. But boy, that's really smart. Because otherwise, she'd have this great big huge shining face where the rest of her screen is dark because it's dark in the world that she is role-playing. And then I just saw right before we came out of the show, the sun was coming up and it was light outside and she turned her light back on. Very interesting. That's clever streaming. I guess a lot of the guys that I watch, they're not really on camera. A lot of the females that I watch tend to have their cameras always active, which again I think is very smart because it makes a deeper connection watching. But you have to prepare yourself. You have to have nice hair. You have to have the right clothes. And a lot of these guys, from what I see, really are not interested in any of that. They just want to sit and play a game all day. Another thing I've noticed about these streamers is they all tend to, when they start their show, sit down and chat with chat, which is great. And then they all tend to go to the same website and show clips from other streamers' chat streams. Which, if you're only watching one streamer do that a day, well, that's sort of interesting. But if you're hopping around and you're seeing every single streamer that are not the top tier. The top tiers, they start their stream, they go, they play, they leave. If you're a middle tier streamer, not us, but like if you have 1,000 people you're watching, they usually start off for the first hour and a half watching these clips. And these clips are new every day, but when you're streaming every day and you're watching other streamers every day at different time zones, they all play the same clips. It's really, to me, very bad programming. Because all they're doing is washing and repeating. There's nothing original about it. But what's interesting is I saw two clips that this one streamer was playing. One clip, they're both from Grand Theft Auto. Well, the first one was Grand Theft Auto. The second one was a game I didn't know. And there was this guy in his car talking to this woman who appeared to be a stripper. And the guy in the car was making very lewd comments about her and how he wanted to lock her up and keep her. And she said, "You're disgusting." And in the show. And then the streamer said, if that were me, if I were that woman playing that role, I would, in this world, take out my gun and shoot him in the face and kill him for saying something disgusting like that to me. But she kind of played along and said, "Please leave. Don't ever come by here again. I don't ever want to see you." And the guy in the car said, "Oh, but I'm giving you a compliment. It's wonderful that I want to eat you up and, just keep you for myself and lock you in my basement." And she told him to get out. And then the real streamer commented saying, that is reportable. That kind of behavior on stream is not acceptable. And that person needs to be banned from the game. Banned from Twitch for a certain amount of time. So I thought that was really good that she was standing up for someone else playing a role-playing game. Then, as luck would have it, the next clip was some guy we couldn't see, and he's driving some little toy car in a game I didn't recognize. And he's telling this story about how he had a headache last night, and he asked his wife to bring him some Advil. And the wife came up to him and said, while he's on stream, "We don't have any Advil. Here's some Midol," right? And if you don't know, Midol is sort of like Advil that women take to help ease their times of distress during their periods. And this male streamer, who did not sound young, said to his wife on stream, "I don't want any Midol. Those are for people with the P word," which I'm not going to say. I have a D word, right? Ugh. And the wife, who was very patient, said, "Well, Midol is just what you need, but with a little bit of caffeine in it." And then the streamer again said, "Well, I don't have a P, I have a D, and tonight I'm going to D you." And he thought he was so hilarious and so funny in telling this story of bad-mouthing his wife on his live stream and thinking that what he said was funny. And so I sit here and I think, oh my goodness, I sit here for 2 hours a day, try to, build relationships, talk about interesting things. And then there's this other guy who's over here talking about my doll and P words and D words and, getting a lot of exposure for all the wrong reasons. A little disgusting. And the streamer who was watching that was completely disgusted by that guy. But what are you going to do? I guess in some atmospheres, there are no rules. It's interesting that tagging this live stream, you cannot tag the word war, and you cannot tag the word Twitch, because we're streaming on Twitch, I guess. But today, as you can see, one of my tags are war poem, which was accepted. Before, I've had Ukraine war posted without incident. But if you just go for a war alone, no. And it's so funny that a lot of these games online that you play on Twitch, on your live stream, are all about killing people. Wars, battle, blood, murder. I don't know if any of those are appropriate. I have not tried any of those tags, but maybe now I have to. Is murder an appropriate tag? Twitch. Well, now I have to find out. I'm going to take away the F tag. See if I can put murder in there. Bah! Murder is just fine, thank you. But not war. Weird. Battle, to me, is the same as a war. But I guess there are battle bots and battle this and battle that. Meow. Okay. So that is the sad mission for the day. Oh, Gordon says good morning. Now that would be funny to have a good morning. Oh, now that's funny. Now I'm going to do something here, which is probably totally inappropriate. I'm going to make a new slash, what I call a slash command. It's not a slash command though. Custom command. Ha 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 ha. This is going to be good. Just because, for people who know me, know that I can't tolerate this, which is why I'm doing it, of course. Yes, okay. Default color, we will pick a pretty blue. Save. Okay, this is where all the fun comes in. Now, I have never understood the good morning thing. Our friend Dora is a big good morning person. Our friend Igba is a good morning person. Gordon is a good morning person. I don't understand why waste the energy, the time, the space to say GM. And in these Discord servers, there are people who just go on there and say GM all day, right? So some of these Discord servers have a whole special section that's just called GM. And they say, look, if you want to say, if you're just going to come in here to type GM, go here and type it. Leave it out of the rest of it. And people do. Another shocking thing is on the Columbia University server, which is not important. It is important, but it's not official. It's run by students. But it's the only Columbia server there is. They have a counting channel, which I find absolutely mind-numbing, where someone actually types in 1, next person types in 2, next person. I think they're at 2,000 something now. Why? I don't understand it. Gordon says General Motors. Well, this is what I did. Now, this is hilariously funny to me, but I'm very odd and strange. And I do like a good dad joke. So from now on, if this worked out, which I just did, when someone types in good morning, the whole freaking word, as an exclamation point command, fantastic. Absolutely hilarious. Groundbreaking. The bot will translate it into just regular old GM. Hilarious, right? That's what we're doing now. Some people now do the GN, right? The good night. Okay, I have to do that one too now. Just because I hate them so much. Okay, so let's see. I need a new command. Command name. This one is good night. Even though we're morning people. And I guess we'll make this one blue as well. Make it an announcement, which highlights it. Blue, save, meow. Now we have to test it, see if it worked. What kind of hilarity do we have going on with this today? Good night, exclamation point. GN. Now, see, normally you just come in and you type exclamation point GM, and then it would translate it into good morning. But Gordon didn't do that. Gordon did it the right way. Gordon typed in the whole freaking word that then gets shortened to GM, which I love, which makes it harder for the person to say GM because they have to type out the whole thing. Oh, I'm so easily amused. Wait till Dora finds out about that. Oh my gosh, it's just so hilarious. What am I going to do? I don't think people do good afternoon. I don't see a lot of good nights, but good morning is like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with these people? And then they have special icons and animated images. Excuse me. In the Sabet thing, Sabet server, there's one guy who has a good morning animated something that he has created. So every day he has a new good morning, animated good morning. I don't know. Hello? I'm glad you're creative, and they're creative. Good mornings. But you could be doing so many other things than just doing that to say good morning in an interesting way. It's a little strange to me. So I guess we'll start this conversation about the Joe Biden student loan forgiveness, which to me and the people that I know is really no forgiveness at all. It's $10,000, which if you have any idea how much an elite school costs, it's absolutely nothing. $50,000 is absolutely nothing. It's like today, not even a year's worth of tuition and fees is nothing. But as my beautiful wife, Janet Marie, says, it's better than nothing. Maybe. And Elizabeth Warren is saying, oh, it's great. You know, it's better than nothing. We pushed for 50. Al Sharpton's on the news. They're saying, well, he didn't lead us all the way out of the tunnel, but he brought us halfway out of the tunnel. So you say, thank you for bringing me halfway. But here's one of the most interesting takes that I saw on this whole messy thing from Sarah Kendzior. I've heard it pronounced many different Kendzior, Kendizior, but she's terrific. Very, very smart. Nonfiction horror writer, right? Now you have to pay attention to what she just wrote because she's talking about, she writes about real people, writes about politics. Horror writer. It's delicious. She has a PhD. She's the co-host of Gaslit Nation. Yes. Author of Hiding in Plain Sight. So she's very smart, well-educated. She knows what the heck she's doing in the world. And here was her take on the debt forgiveness. Blah. The debt forgiveness is not enough, but hopefully it's the start of a broader shift. Higher education is unaffordable and a prerequisite, often baselessly, for jobs. Now, right there, wow, mind bender. You're told from very early age, you must go to college. Don't be a factory worker. There's nothing wrong with factory worker. If you want to get a good paying job with benefits, you got to go to college. And she's saying that's not true. And to do that, you have to pay for it. And if you want to buy your way in, you got to go to a good school. And not like a community college, which is terrible to say, but in truth, it's a reality in many parts of the business world, at least. Those who took on debt were not making bad choices, but stuck with bad options. That's also very interesting. Spare the next generation this scam. And then she continues. The relief felt by many Gen X and millennials is tempered by the fact there is no solution in sight for our own teenagers who face exceptionally higher college costs if they want to go that route, and worse job opportunities if they don't. It's true, at least in the East Coast. You want to go to a good school, it's going to cost you $70,000 a year. And even with a degree, stagnant wages. So if you come from a rich family, you don't have any trouble. If you want to try to lift up your family and get a really good education, you can only do it with loans. She continues, I've been writing about higher ed and a broken economy, an economy run on prestige, which literally means illusion, for a long time. I'm glad there's been progress and hope we can move faster in a direction that doesn't favor opportunity hoarding for elite mediocrities. Wow, heavy stuff. You got to read it a few times. Here's a previous quote from Sarah, quoting herself, retweeting herself. College is a purchased loyalty oath to an imagined employer. College shows you are serious enough about your life to risk ruining it early on. College is a promise the economy does not keep. Oof. Now that's a kick in the face, because that's absolutely not what we are taught. It's depressing that essays from View from Flyover Country written between 2012 and 2014 hold up well today. Higher education was and is a heist. Cancel student debt, end credentialism. Someone else replies, I recall you doing a podcast episode on Gaslit Nation where you discussed how people of all ages were negatively impacted by student debt. But I can't remember which one it was. And Sarah replies, I'm not sure which one it was either. Hey, I feel you, my friend. People tell me I say things. What did you just say? I don't know. I don't remember. I wrote it yesterday. I said it 2 minutes ago. I have no idea. Play back the tape. I'm not sure which one it was either, because we've talked about this a lot. All ages are affected. It's thought of as a millennial Gen X issue, but lots of boomers borrowed for their kids. And Gen Z is looking at skyrocketing costs while their parents still have their own debt. And somebody replies, but education is so much more than the means to an end. And Sarah replies, education is more than going to college, too. But changed job application requirements in most industries have made a degree and massive debt the only choice. A choice that's not a choice at all. And an education that's often perfunctory. And you don't have to take in $70,000 a year. For some people, just trying to be the first person in their family, the first generation to go to college, go to a community college, and it costs you $10,000 a year. That's life-crushing too. So these are not rich elites, but we're going to discuss this a little bit more when we return from our very first blood pressure break. Back in a moment. And we are back from break here on Bowls.tv, BOLES, .television, .tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Hey, another dad joke. Did you hear the joke about the wandering nun? She was a Roman Catholic. Funny, that's a good one. The play on words. That's the classic dad joke. So continuing our conversation about this Biden forgiveness plan and the wonderful Sarah, someone else replies to her, seriously, to become a manager at Target. Target! I had to have a degree, a college degree. It didn't matter what it was in. I just had to have one. Promise that job didn't pay me enough to pay back a student loan. Isn't that interesting, right? Oh, you want to be a manager at Target? Well, you have to be very smart. You have to have your BA degree. AA is not enough. Must be at least a BA degree or you're not going to get the job. And Sarah replies, they need to end credentialism and support on-the-job training again. That's the way it used to be, and why not? Folks did not need a degree for these jobs decades ago. Obviously, some fields necessitate advanced training, and in general, college is beneficial, and I agree with her about that. But it should not be a requirement that locks people out. That's very interesting. And another person says, a lot of the recipients are teachers. I take nurses and social workers who are holding it all together right now. Lots of women and single mothers who deserve the relief. And Sarah says, I wish they'd mass forgive college debt, but especially for nurses and doctors and teachers and social workers and service providers, anyone else who works on the front lines during the pandemic. I saw another statistic that said of 8 of the 10 industrialized countries, going to college is free. And America is one of the 2 that are not. Well, of course, here we go. Not to be left out. All the Republicans are lying again, quite pathetically, the headline reads, about student debt forgiveness and how this guy became the voice of reason in the GOP, if you know his background, and what he did or did not report as a wrestling associate in college. Very interesting. Those silly congressional Republicans are at it again. Over the past couple of weeks, they've unleashed a torrent of misinformation, claiming that $80 billion of new IRS funding included in the recently enacted Inflation Reduction Act would be used to hire 87,000 new agents, many with guns, who would go after middle-class taxpayers. It's dishonest and dangerous. Now they're lying about the Biden administration's plan to cancel $10,000 in student debt for individuals earning less than $125 annually. Jim Jordan, student loan forgiveness will benefit wealthy elites. Biden forgets about the real America. Steve Scalise, let's be clear, this isn't imaginary money. Biden just shifted all that student loan debt off taxpayers who are already dealing with high inflation. Debt forgiveness is just another liberal scam for the elites paid for by working class Americans. Tim Scott, my mom didn't go to college. She worked 2 jobs to keep the lights on and provide for me and my brother. President Biden wants Francis Scott and millions of other Americans to pick up the student loan bill for the law. And it goes on and on. The author says it's interesting that Republicans are so up in arms about a supposed bailout of the elite by ordinary folks, given the top-heavy tax cuts they rammed through Congress in 2017. We sure didn't hear many Republicans complaining about that $800 billion in pandemic loan forgiveness for businesses, most of which benefited the wealthiest 20% of Americans. Lawmakers from both parties have ignored the way vast federal subsidies for retirement savings skew to the top. Average tax advantage savings for the wealthiest 10% of households are 125 times that of the least wealthy 50% of households. Biden's loan relief won't look like that. And so it's going to go on, and it's just, Biden's going to lose on both sides. He didn't do enough, many Democrats say, and Republicans said he did too much. So the guy can't win. I understand. And I remember, I've told this story before, and it's worth telling. How many people do you remember in your life from 30 years ago that you met for 10 minutes? Probably not many names. You may remember a face, you remember the circumstance. You usually don't have the dialogue burned into your brain and the name of the person on the tip of your tongue. But I tell you, there are a lot of students at Columbia University in 1998. 1988. 88? Yeah. Oh, yeah. 88. Ooh, that's a long time ago. In the Oscar Hammerstein II Center for Theater Studies program, MFA program, who moved to New York. Many of us, some of us were already there, moved to New York, picked up roots, left our families behind, hoping for a brighter future, a different way, a new way in, a different way out, and to get that by trying to get a higher degree. And as part of that process, we were all required to sit down with a financial loan approver, whatever, to finalize our financial aid package. And the person who was doing that for the School of the Arts was infamously known as Bernice. So you're tired, you're hungry, you're terrified, you're taking on a lot of debt in the hopes to have a better life. You filled out all the paperwork. You have to pay the rent. But before you can do any of that, you have to sit down with Bernice. So you go and you sit down in Bernice's office. And the first thing she says is, I don't know how you're going to pay any of these loans back. And you're sitting there like, what? Why are you telling me this now? School starts tomorrow. Why are you doing this to me? Oh, Bernice says, oh, burned into your mind. Oh, I really worry about the poets. No, not the poets. I really worry about the poets. The poets will never have a life. They're never going to pay back these loans. And I spoke up and very calmly said, why are you telling this now? I just moved halfway across the country to come into a program. I have a presidential scholarship from the dean. But New York is expensive. The time to have this conversation with me is before I moved, 3 months ago, before I left anywhere. You could have told me that poets and theater people will never pay back their loans. Why are you telling me this now? All I'm here for is for you to countersign my loans that are going to ruin my life forever, according to you, Bernice. And she made a face. Well, it's your decision. And she signed the paper. Back then, everything was carbon copies. Gave me my paper, which was pink. She kept hers, which was yellow. The original goes to the feds or whatever. I took my paper and I left. Shell-shocked. Was so excited to be in New York City, to be going, have my whole life in front of me. Nice. So the next day, with the new people, we're all getting together, all talking. and my friend Mary, who actually lived in Manhattan, just happened to mention a conversation with us around. Hey, did you guys meet Bernice? And immediately, I think there were 6 of us there, just in that small meeting, exploded like, what is wrong with her? What is wrong with Bernice? Why is she telling us this now? When we're here, we're moved in, we're starting classes tomorrow. What's the point of it? And there was about a 20-minute session of the expulsion of the poison that was Bernice. And hey, maybe Bernice was right. Maybe all of us will never be anything. We're all going to know, especially the poets. I'm sure the poets were here. I can't imagine what she said to the poets, because the theater people, I guess, stood a chance with her. But the poets, hopeless. Never going to amount to anything. Sign the paper here. Sign away your life. And so for our whole time there, whenever we wanted to have a little bit of, venting, we just kind of look at each other and said, you remember Bernice? I remember what she was wearing. I remember the sun coming through the window. She had a very nice office. And some of the students even went and complained to the head of the program, Howard Stein, and said, look, Howard, this Bernice woman, you got to get rid of her. You got to say something. She cannot be hassling us. By the time we meet Bernice, everything's been decided. She's just a processor. She's not a financial advisor. That's not her role. I didn't say anything because I didn't really care. But I knew other people did, and I'm glad they did. I don't think anything was done because once you're at a university and you're established and you're in, nobody can really touch you. Especially with union protection. Commissioner Gordon says from Florida, I don't know who needs to hear this, a post starts, but if you have a problem with student debt cancellation because you already paid off your loans, just pretend it's a tax cut for big corporations that you also never got but mysteriously didn't complain about. Absolutely right. And these people in these southern states who are complaining, oh, all these elites are going to... Well, hey, New York City is one of the biggest contributors to, let's say, as an example, the state of Kentucky. Mitch McConnell gets all of his money from the blue states of California and New York to pay for all of his expenses in the state of Kentucky. So I could say, why do I have to pay federal taxes to help these people in Kentucky? Why? I don't live in Kentucky. I don't drive on the roads in Kentucky. I don't even use a bridge in Kentucky. Why do I have to pay for it? Why do my federal funds have to go to Kentucky? Well, you're going to start talking like that. Then we don't have a democracy. We don't have a union of the United States. It's very upsetting. Hey, speaking upsetting, it's Gordon's turn in the barrel, as they say. As we discuss the decline in a university education and the abomination that is Taylor Swift. I'm sorry. I know it's Thursday and I know Red is playing soon or has already been played. Let's not talk about just Taylor Swift because that's going to hurt Gordon's feelings. Let's talk wider about celebrity people. Did you hear this one? This is where all of your tax dollars is going. All your tuition money is going to pay Taylor Swift. A new Taylor Swift songwriting class started at University of Texas, Austin, American songwriter. An in-person class, as far as we've researched this, Gordon, because we knew that we would be going against Florida if we talked about this. The University of Texas at Austin is launching a new course on Taylor Swift and her songwriting. The class, which begins this fall, comes on the heels of New York University offering a similar course on Swift, which also is open for enrollment this fall. Meow. It's disturbing to me. As an elite. The NYU class is not as much as a songwriting focused as it is on Swift's music business prowess. Along with a slew of country and pop songwriters who've worked with her and helped her build her career, the University of Texas at Austin class will largely focus on her craft as a songwriter. Oh, Florida's in it now. Gordon says, I think they should allow people to audit the class, online at least. We can talk about auditing classes. It's not as delightful as you think. I'm going to write that down because I'm going to talk about that. That's a very good insight. You know, one of the most popular courses, and this is another sad fact, at New York University is a class called Happiness. And you go in this class and you learn about the idea of happiness and how to be happy in your life. And I believe you get 4 school credits for it. And everyone knows it's a breeze. It's an easy A for 2 years. The most popular class on campus. And now, because there's a lot of blowback from regular educators who say, look, tuition money's being spent. Why are we offering a introductory class on how to be happy? So I guess last semester, the person teaching who invented the happiness course changed the whole grading system where no one got an easy A. It was all on a bell curve now. So people were very upset because they took it because it was an easy class. You didn't even have to go. You didn't have to show up for the class. You just talk about happiness in your papers. And so major changes were made, and now it's no longer the most popular class on campus. Gordon says, point a camera at the professor, hook up a microphone, and make the class available for everyone with an internet connection. Well, the problem with that is people are going to say, well, I'm paying $5,000 for this course. Why are you letting people watch it for free? And auditing courses as an instructor is a terrible, terrible thing because usually there's no room. And some schools like CUNY, if you are a resident of the city of New York and you have a valid driver's license and you are over the age of 65, you can force your way into a class by auditing a class. A CUNY class. Now, most people who audit a class, you hope that they would just sit there and watch, but they don't want that. They want to be involved. They want to ask questions. They want to learn. Well, if you're going to do that, then you have to take the tests and you have to do the homework. Oh, sure, we'll do that. They don't do it, but they still want to be involved in the class. They don't come to every class session, but they expect you to catch them up on everything they missed. It's a terrible, terrible system. Gordon says because the people getting it online are not getting degree credits. Yeah, maybe so. But for a professor's point of view, having people in person auditing a class is very difficult. Now, COVID has helped kind of tamp that down a little bit because social distancing, people just showing up who are not part of the class. And when people audit classes, they don't take it seriously. They don't show up when they're supposed to show up. They come and go as they please because, well, I'm auditing, I'm not paying, I'm not getting credit for this. And who wants that kind of involvement? Dr. Elizabeth Scala of the school's English department will head the Literary Contests in Context, the Taylor Swift Songbook course. It will aid students, the course description says, in a wide range of skills. In other academic pop star news, so we're not picking on Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, who is now with Olivia Wilde, which I did not know. She's no longer with Sudeikis, I guess. Big fight. Harry Styles will also be the focus of a college course. In his case, it will be in the Lone Star State as well, at Texas State University in the spring. Earlier this year, Taylor Swift gave the commencement speech at New York University for the class of 20 and 22. I won't tell you what to do because no one likes that. I will, however, give you some life hacks I wish I knew when I was starting out my dreams of a career and navigating life, love, pressure, choices, shame, hope, and friendship, Taylor Swift said at one point in her speech. She also joked about one of her songs. Hey, I'm 90% sure the main reason I'm here is because I have a song called 22. And let me just say, I am elated to be here with you today as we celebrate our graduate of the university's class of 2022. So there you go. Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, celebrity, happiness class, they're all sort of in that same genre. Not really there for higher intellectualism, but there maybe just for an easy course. And a lot of people think American Sign Language is easy take. They find that out the wrong way. They also find out the hard way that theater classes are very demanding because it makes you go different ways than you want to go as a human being. It's not as easy as a math class. Gordon says, a good song, 22 to be sure. I would have much more respect for Taylor Swift if she were just a little bit more honest about her personal lifestyle. And she claims publicly to be one thing, where in private, people who know her say she's very different, which is all fine and dandy. No one wants to out anybody about anything. But you could do a lot of good in the world. And we're not just speaking to her, but other celebrities as well, who do not want to be who they really are in public because they fear backlash, they fear money, prestige, where sometimes you have to stand up and go the right way. And even though I'm not an Ellen DeGeneres fan, I have tremendous respect for her bravery in taking a stand and being who she really is in public. It's really a very important thing to do for young people who look up to you and who want to follow you for guidance. And on that note of hope, we are returning in a moment from our next blood pressure break. And we are back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv, BOLES.television. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Oh, we have to tell dad joke because we're going to get back from break. Then we'll talk about what Gordon said. Hey, why did Dracula lie in the wrong coffin? He made a grave mistake. We're batting 1,000 with the dad jokes today. They're all on target. Gordon said during the break, hey, look at Richard Simmons. Or rather, you can't look at Richard Simmons anymore because he is effectively retired and now just wants to live life quietly without people questioning what he's doing on the daily. I agree. I feel terrible for Richard Simmons. He was on TV every day. He was a beautiful beacon of light. Wonderful personality. Child actor. It's an unfortunate thing. Child acting really just destroys you from the inside out. And he pretty much overcame it, had a good career, and then just said, I'm done. I don't want to have anything to do with any of this anymore. And people started harassing him and stalking him. And there was even a podcast about Richard Simmons. What happened to him? Where is he? And there was a welfare check that was done on him. And the police went over to his house and said, we're checking on Richard. Is he being held captive? And Richard talked to the police and said, no, I'm just living my life. And then it was pretty much over. So I went and just looked at this real fast. This is from 20 hours ago, published, Vanity Fair. Richard Simmons retreated from public life due to busted knee. This is a TMZ doc. According to What Really Happened to Richard Simmons, the eccentric, that's not nice to say, the fitness guru went into virtual hiding because of knee problems. He was in a lot of pain. I find that hard to believe, really. There is Richard, completely delightful. Why did Richard Simmons retreat from public life? Though that was the animating question for an entirely very successful podcast, Missing Richard Simmons. I did a Frank podcast saying, leave Richard Simmons alone. The answer is allegedly quite simple. The documentary TMZ Investigates What Really Happened to Richard Simmons, which recently aired on Fox, has a new theory regarding Simmons' health that purports to explain why the beloved fitness guru faded from public view in 2014. According to the documentary, Simmons' heritage comes down to a busted knee. Doctors told him back in 2014, around the time he disappeared, he needed a left knee replacement. And if he didn't get one, he might never be able to exercise again. Now, that's not a big deal. Now, this is key to the disappearance of Richard Simmons. The prospect of surgery of becoming sedentary caused Richard to sink into a deep depression. Representative for Richard says, we have no comment. I honestly think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry to say. That Richard Simmons would stop being in public life because he has a bad knee. Gordon says, I think people call him eccentric because of how he dressed. I always loved it, and other such things. Yeah, he used to go on Howard Stern a lot, and Howard would make fun of his short shorts and how he was really secretly gay and all these other terrible things. And Richard was a good sport and played along, but you could tell that it really hurt his feelings. Per TMZ, Simmons' knee troubles first made headlines in 2014. Now, come on now. I'm old, and I don't remember that ever being a headline. According to the documentary, the operation on his right knee was so painful that he allegedly delayed replacing his left knee and seemingly opted to never get surgery. He had a right knee replacement a few years back and still needed a left one. He was in a lot of pain. We know still to this day Richard hasn't gotten corrective surgery on his left knee. He walks with a cane, and that explains a lot. He's just not the same guy anymore. Richard wanted to retreat before his image was recast as an old man. I don't believe that either. And his knee problems were a huge factor in that decision. I don't believe that either. Now, can I read the full story? Is he going to tell me I have to? Oh, it's letting me look at it. So, I guess this is nothing that's very interesting. But I feel, leave Richard alone. Richard doesn't want to be in the public eye, and he doesn't owe anybody any explanations. He made a lot of money. He made a lot of people very happy. He helped people lose weight. And if you're Richard and you're making money, you make a lot of money selling knee stuff, coming out with your story. I don't think Richard Simmons would hide at home because he has a bum knee. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I think he just is done being in the public spotlight. He'd been there all of his life, and he didn't want to have it anymore. He doesn't need it. Now we move into something that's very interesting. Our friend Alexander lives in Ukraine. He has been, as you know, called up to go to the front line. I guess they're working on his documentation now, his papers. Gordon says, hey, dad joke, he doesn't need it. Well, that's why we have Gordon on the show. He killed it with the good morning thing, which you have to spell out all the way. Oh, that's not the right one. Which you have to spell out all the way to get the thing to show up, just to type in good morning. And my typer, my keyboard is very loud, but I just love the GM. And dad joke needed. Fabulous. So Alexander's getting ready, preparing himself, I guess, to go to the front lines, learn how to shoot a gun, and his family is staying. That is not what he told me he was going to do. He told me when the time came, picking up the family, getting them out, elderly parents, 4 children, wife, they go, he will stay. Now he's going to the war front and they're staying. I don't understand it. So this is a poem that Alexander wrote about this image. Here it is in, I guess, Ukrainian. And translating the tweet gives us this. Forgive me, Mother. I died yesterday. I wanted to live and raise children. An enemy projectile threw my body away. The happiness of the people died for our country. Don't cry. I see everything. I'm next to you. Unfortunately, I can't hug you. I couldn't help it. We went to battle. Orcs will not grab Ukraine into their paws. Now that's the Google translation of what Alexander wrote. It feels right. I do not know what an orc is. I have a feeling that's a little bit of a strange translation. But the poem continues. This is part 2. Here it is in Ukrainian, and here is the Google English translation. Don't cry, I beg you. It hurts so much to see the tears in the photo cover mine. Hug my wife. She will forgive me for the fact that the heart cuts its own. I'm sorry. I'll stay up and go to God, and I will tearfully beg him there for you, my relatives, and for Ukraine. Please don't cry, and please forgive me. Okay. That's a beautiful poem, Alexander. I thank you so much. You've had wonderful responses online to it. So, let's see. I'm going to put the whole thing. Oh my gosh, it's Jana Murray, sweetheart. Checking in from distances unknown. That's a sad statement, too. Yeah, it's very sad. Here is the, if it will paste. This is part 1 of the poem, because why let Google translate the whole thing? Let's find out what's really being said, and if Gordon has a way to figure this out, then let's let Gordon figure this out if he can. And there's part 2. And if we need links, there's the link to part 1, and this is the link to part 2. I'm surprised he didn't translate it himself, because he usually does. But this time he just put it up, and people, I guess, if you're reading it just like in his timeline, you don't get the translation option. You have to actually click on the individual tweet to get the option to have it translated. So there we go. Maybe we'll have a whole new translation of this beautiful poem. I can't wait. And if we do, we will publish it somewhere. Alexander, are you the author? I couldn't hold my tears. Alexander replies, yes, I write when it is very difficult. As in the drawings, you release the emotions that sit in the heart. 4 people, the numeral 4, people we bury in our small town. Thank you. I'm very much glad you liked it. Nice heartbreaking stuff. But it's been shared. And then this. Alexander used to talk to me all day, and now he doesn't. But he did send me this yesterday. This is the map of Ukraine. He said every day now there are sirens in his small town. And he said so far they've been very lucky that all this technology that the United States and surrounding countries have sent to shoot down the Russian missiles have worked so far. The sirens blare, the missiles go, things get shot down. He said, but all of Ukraine is now under the daily warnings of sirens from missile attacks. He said there's no safe place anymore. The darker red is the really terrible place to be, where there are things flying all the time. He said the rest of this, I think he's more in this area. Are very dangerous because there's always a siren going off. And he said people are starting to now just not take cover. They're just, how can you take cover all day long? You have to get out and do things. You have to live in the world. So people are now starting to ignore the sirens and the warnings, which concerns him as well. So I said, well, I guess for now, there are not a lot of peaceful skies for you. And when I made that comment, that's when he sent me this map saying, yeah, he wishes us peaceful skies, but he doesn't have any peaceful skies right now. It's a hard thing to try to figure out. And now this is the best horrible part of the whole thing. Putler, as Alexander calls him, Hitler and Putin. Putler is paying parents in Ukraine $167 to send their Ukrainian children to school and receive a Russian education. The Kremlin offered $167 to parents to send their kids to Russian-controlled schools. Latest attempt to get Ukrainians to accept a Russian-controlled education system. I guess there are many fronts on which you can wage a war. There have been multiple reports of threats to non-compliant teachers and parents. The Kremlin announced on Wednesday. I tried to go to this link, by the way. Let's see if it will let me go. Ooh, this time it did let me go. Translate to English. Ooh. Yesterday it said the site is not secure. Wouldn't go there. Maybe they fixed it. Instructions on preparation for the 2023 academic year. Zaporizhzhia, Kharkiv, and Kherson regions. Vladimir Putin approved instructions on preparations for the 20 and 22 academic year. Oh, look at that. So this is the story of that. Oh, I have to go back now. So the Kremlin announced on Wednesday the one-off payment of 10,000 rubles to parents of children in, Donetsk and Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, Kharkiv, and Kherson, as long as they attended by September 15. The amount equates to roughly just less than half a month's average salary. However, the wartime economy and global inflation has caused the cost of living to soar. The Kremlin's announcement follows multiple reports that the Kremlin is attempting to remold the education system in areas of Ukraine it controls to reflect a Russia-centric view of the world. That includes reports of threats and fines to parents and intimidation of Ukrainian teachers. In July, teachers of topics like history, geography, and languages in occupied Kharkiv were threatened with redundancy if they didn't sign an agreement to follow the Russian curriculum. In Melitopol, a city in Zaporizhzhia that has been occupied since early March, most teachers have already left. The New Yorker reported several teachers being run out of the city early in the occupation after refusing to teach a curriculum approved by occupying forces. I tell you, you got to mess with people. Don't mess with teachers. Teachers are independent thinkers, and many of them would probably say they would rather be dead than live under slavery. One school that agreed to cooperate with the Russian system threatened a 40,000 ruble fine and even a loss of custody to parents who didn't make their children attend. A history teacher in the Kherson region told Radio Free Europe in early July, locals don't want to send their children to those schools, but they are scared. What a mess. I don't think I would want my children to go to Russian school either. And that's what one of our friends said. Our friend Igba said, the Russians come knocking right now, sign this contract, join the army, because I believe they have sort of a position of power. And they're not doing it, and none of his friends are doing it. But they said if they're drafted, if they're told to mandatorily go and serve, then he said they're all leaving. They're all getting in a bus, a van, a car, whatever, all his friends, his age, and they're leaving the country. And they're going back to Georgia. Not the American Georgia, the Georgia state in Europe where they're going to seek shelter. And he tried it once, it didn't work out. There was no money, no one would hire him because he had a Russian passport. And nobody wants to hire a Russian in that area because they think they support the war. So our friend Igba had to leave Georgia and move back home to Russia. He lives in a very beautiful place, though. But his dad got fired because he didn't support the war, and his mother's on a pension. She gets $150 a month. And that is why young Igba tries to support his family through his artwork. But it's hard because you have Igba in Russia in a nice home, beautiful place, safe, trying to raise money for his family. And then you have another friend named Alexander who is trying to raise money to buy safety vests and guns to protect his homeland from the invading Russians. And online, selling NFTs, they're in direct competition with each other. So do you support the Ukrainian or do you support the Russian? They both have the same view of Putler. But one is getting bombed every day, and the other is drawing NFTs. It's an interesting conundrum to try to figure out. And now we're taking our next blood pressure break, returning in a moment with a very brief movie review. Returning in a moment. And hey, we are back from break. This is Bowls.tv, BOLES.tv, television Bowls, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. And on the weekends, 11 a.m. Eastern, Jana Marie Sweetheart is here, talking about all kinds of interesting things. Fun facts, flowers, cats, American Sign Language, health issues, everything. And on the break, I just had this great idea. I don't know if the Jana Marie is still listening, still watching, I don't know. But if she is, and even if she isn't, I wonder, humbly, if on Saturday or Sunday, she would share / teach / perform that poem by Alexander Grushansky. Now, she would have to perform the English translation, and if we can get a cleaner, better translation, that would be a very interesting thing for Jana Marie to do. Will she do it? Won't she do it? We're waiting to hear. And if she doesn't say now, maybe she'll say later today. But that's right up her performance thing. And he wrote it because it's about the war and about the independence movement of Ukraine. So, a couple of days ago, we watched a movie on Netflix. And we like to find different kinds of movies, and this appeared to sort of be like a German kind of movie. But it's not German. Sort of. Well, it is sort of German. A lot of German speaking in it. I don't know why, but it is. Now, I'm going to play this trailer because I think I can. Well, maybe I better not. I'll just show you photos instead. Well, maybe I will play it. I got in trouble when I played it before. I trailed it before. So I think photos are okay. So this is the movie called Mute. Now, right off, we don't call people mute anymore. The appropriate thing to say is, does not speak. Well, how do you make a movie called Does Not Speak? Well, by the way, on the break, our hot boxing neighbor somehow has a super strain of Mary Jane Ditchweed, the marijuana, because it's very, very powerful. And I sprayed all my Lysol everywhere during the break, and it's still there. Need to open the window. And what can you do? You report the pot to the front desk. Whoa, no smoking in the building. Whoa, medical marijuana. So Mute is a very strange movie about a man who, as a child, had an accident with a boat, and the propellers somehow cut his vocal cords. So he cannot speak words, but he can hear and communicate and write. And they blame it all on the Amish mother, who refused to let her child have this necessary surgery so he could have a vocal box, vocal cords, because it was against her Amish religion. So, Mute stars Alexander Skarsgård. Now, why you would have that be your IMDb movie profile, I don't know. Paul Rudd, everybody loves Paul Rudd, except in this movie. You will hate his mother effing guts. Now, is that Paul being a great actor, or is that just a really nasty, nasty character? I got the feeling, just watching it, and what do I know? I'm a big know-nothing, that Paul thought the movie was going to be interesting, got the script, read it, and decided to just give the worst performance of his life in the hopes that he would somehow be cut out of the movie and he would be replaced. He's that bad. His acting is terrible. He plays a horrible, horrible, horrible character. There's Jana Marie. Terrifying her in the movie. Did you hear what I said earlier, Jana Marie, about the performing the Alexander poem as part of your show on Saturday or Sunday? Either teaching it, performing it, or both. Think about that. And Paul was terrifying in the movie because his character was so awful. And we want to love him. Yes, we'll see. Okay. We want to love Paul Rudd, and we love everything Paul Rudd does. And he usually plays this laid-back, fun kind of guy, and this one he plays a bad guy. Justin Theroux was also in the movie. I don't remember who he was. I don't remember who that was either. I'm trying to find the other guy who was the other guy. Young man. I'm trying to find the other guy who was the other really terrible guy. This is the lovable prostitute hooker. She was really terrific, but she's in the movie for like 5 minutes. And then the whole rest of the story is about trying to figure out what happened to her. So, good photos now. So there's Paul with his mustache. She was terrific. Not in the movie very much. And it's this sort of murder mystery of who's killed who, and Paul and his cohort are sort of doctors who do surgery on people in the future. And one of the doctors decides to operate on the mute guy to give him a voice box. This is behind the scenes of the director, Duncan Jones. Now, the look of the movie is beautiful. And this was the scenes. This is the thing I had. The script was ridiculous. The acting was pretty good. The scene of a futuristic, nihilistic Germany, fabulous. If you want to watch a movie just to see what this director's vision of the future is like, this is a very interesting movie. Here they are where they perform surgery on people, and it's usually for nefarious reasons. This is Sarsgaard as the mute guy. This is his, I guess, sort of prostitute, bartender. They work in a bar together that he decides that he loves for some strange reason we don't really understand. This is the futuristic Germany where everything's sort of virtual. This is the other bad guy. And maybe that's that dark-haired guy I showed you before, but I really don't know him. And he was awful in this movie as a character. The acting, okay. But I really don't like watching just completely irredeemable people who are just cruel to other people for no reason. If the reason comes from a place of ingenuity and veracity in the movie, okay. But when you're just mean to be mean and cruel to be cruel and viciously cruel. Now see here, this is the milieu, this is the outside, this is Germany in the future. And why they are still Amish people in the future, and they have to turn away from TVs and electrified things, but then the main character does go against his religion and drives a car, and what? It didn't make any sense to me. Sarsgaard, Rudd, Theroux. Mute! It looks great. It's just not really. See, look at that. That's just really, when you see that shot, and then when he exits the tunnel, you're in a whole new world. It's very beautifully done. Look, this is the Netflix promo teaser thing. Now that's a beautiful, beautiful composed image of an apartment building in the future. Really well done. This is a bad guy who beats everybody up. He's big, tall, mean. Really, really excellent actor. Doesn't really say anything. He just goes and beats up people. Here's a doctor. He put a false leg on this young woman, gave her life back. I just don't really understand what's going on in the movie. But it was interesting to watch. There's no doubt about that. So if you're looking for something that's a Netflix movie, you can take a look at Mute and see what you think. Well, that was an interesting show today. Talked about a lot of things, a lot of interesting things, heartbreak, some happiness. It's all part of living the human condition, surviving the human condition. So if you have any questions or comments, hey, you can email me, David at Bowles. On Facebook, BOLES. On Twitter, at David Bowles. Instagram is Bowles Books. TikTok is Bowles TV. And Discord. Coming up as well. Gordon says, here's a fun movie. The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared. I will check that out. Unless it's a setup for a dad joke, I'm not sure. And he fell into a windowsill. Something. Hey, Gordon says, signing off from Winter Garden, Florida, thanks for having us. And we reply, hey, see you in a day or two, more good ideas for you. And then just to be unbearably persuasive, good night and be well. So I hope you have a wonderful day, or a nice sleep, or a good nap, wherever you are in your day. And when ye shall awaken, may your soul be filled with joy, anticipation, and a good night and a good morning. I'll see you tomorrow.